She had hiked that trail dozens of times. Kendra Myers, 23, was a photography student from Colorado Springs with a love for sunrise shots, deep forest fog, and the eerie calm of early morning light. On October 12th, she left a short voice memo on her roommate's phone. Headed to Bear Ridge, want to catch the light near the overlook. Back before noon. Tell Scout not to eat my pizza. It sounded like every other day. But this time, she never came back. Her car was found at 9:47 a.m. in the gravel turnout lot at Bear Ridge Trailhead. Keys in the cup holder. A half-full water bottle in the door. Park rangers assumed she'd gone for a solo walk before class. But by sundown, when she missed her evening shift at the university cafe, the calls started. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Friends assumed she'd lost signal in the canyon. But her mother, Diane, said something different. Kendra was careful. She always sent a photo from the top. Always. By morning, search teams fanned out through Pike National Forest. At 7:13 a.m. on October 13th, a park ranger spotted something glinting from a narrow rock shelf about 200 feet off-trail. He rappelled down carefully and found it wedged between two stones. Kendra's phone. The screen was cracked, but intact. The last photo taken was time-stamped October 12th, 8:14 a.m. She was smiling, standing in front of the gorge. Arm raised, typical selfie pose. But what caught the ranger's attention wasn't her face. It was what stood behind her. Zoomed in, just over her shoulder, partially hidden in the trees, was a figure. No face, no motion, just the faint silhouette of a person in what looked like dark, hooded clothing. About 15 feet behind her. Motionless, as if they were waiting, watching. There had been no other cars in the lot that morning. No hikers signed into the log. The image was forwarded to the state crime lab. And that was the moment the search turned from rescue to investigation. When forensic techs extracted the metadata from Kendra Myers' phone, they uncovered 12 images from that morning. The first few were exactly what her family expected. Sunrise through the fog, macro shots of frost on leaves, a squirrel mid-leap across a mossy log. Kendra's style was unmistakable. But then came the selfie, the last photo, and then nothing. No accidental shots, no pocket video, no but-dialed audio. The phone cut off just 1 minute after that image. Battery at 82%. No signs of water damage. The internal clock simply stopped recording, like she took the photo and vanished. Digital forensics couldn't recover any deleted content, but the signal log showed something strange. A sudden signal interference spike at 8:15 a.m., almost exactly when the photo was taken. The local tower log reflected a signal drag, as if the phone had tried and failed to sync multiple times in less than 10 seconds. That type of activity usually only happens when a phone is being rapidly moved between dead zones or tampered with. But the real chill came from the photo analysis. The blurry figure in the background couldn't be sharpened to a clear face, but several experts noted a detail that stopped them cold. The figure wasn't standing on the trail. It was crouched in a thicket off-path, watching her. It wasn't a passerby. It was someone hidden. And one of the search leaders, a ranger named Cal Reddick, swore he'd seen that exact silhouette once before. In 2014, a hiker named Joel Patterson had gone missing just a few miles east. His body never recovered, but his backpack was found near a tree root system. Inside it was a camera. Most of the memory card was corrupted by exposure, but one photo, partially intact, showed Joel at the edge of a ravine. And behind him, in the trees, was a similar blurred shape, slightly different in angle but same height, same posture. The file was written off as a shadow artifact. Cal never forgot it. Now, staring at Kendra's photo, he whispered, "That's the same thing. It's back." The forest, it seemed, was holding secrets. Within days, Bear Ridge Trail was closed to the public, pending ranger maintenance. But locals knew better. Flyers went up. Kendra's photo spread across Reddit and Facebook like wildfire. Pixelated, analyzed, color-graded. One post said, "Zoom in. Behind her elbow. You'll see it. The shape in the trees. It's like it knew." And then a new comment appeared under the thread. "This isn't the first time someone saw it. It watches, and it waits for the ones who walk alone. The account that posted it? Deleted within minutes. 3 days into the investigation, the Myers family held a vigil at the Bear Ridge trailhead, placing flowers on the wooden post where hikers usually signed in. Her mother, Diane, stood silently beside the map kiosk, clutching a printed version of the final selfie. Locals gathered, not just to show support, but to whisper. Theories were multiplying. Some said it was a hunter caught in the background. Others believed it was someone stalking hikers through the park. One man claimed to have seen the same shape watching from a ridge in the 90s. But no one believed him back then. That same week, investigators quietly followed up on a strange tip. A retired forestry worker named Lionel Cressman contacted them anonymously, saying there was an old ranger station deeper in the woods, and used since 1997. "We used to call it the Sawmill Shack," he wrote, "but it's never been listed on the new maps. It had a crawl space we never touched." A small team was dispatched, accompanied by Ranger Cal Reddick. After 4 hours of hiking and GPS rerouting, they found it. A rotted structure sunken into the forest floor, the roof half collapsed, moss crawling up its side. Inside, it smelled of mildew and rust. Most of the furniture had decayed, but behind a broken wall panel near the fireplace, they found a root cellar door, sealed from the outside. When they pried it open, they didn't find a person. But they did find something. A torn strip of green nylon fabric. It matched the color of the jacket Kendra had been wearing when she vanished, a Columbia brand windbreaker her mother had bought her for her birthday. The edges were frayed, as if ripped during a struggle. Nearby, lodged under a floorboard, was something else. A tiny metal object. It was a piece of a phone case, matching the textured edge of Kendra's phone. Not the whole case, just a fragment, but enough to confirm she'd likely been near the shack after her final photo was taken. The site was secured. The area was scanned, but no further traces were found. The strange part? The phone that had been found in the open, just 200 feet from the trail, showed no signs of mud, no leaves, no animal hair, as if it had been placed there recently. Almost like someone had wanted it to be found. Rangers set up hidden cameras in the area around the shack. Nothing appeared for 2 nights, but on the 3rd night, one of the motion-activated lenses triggered at 2:17 a.m. The image it captured wasn't clear, just shadows, fog, movement, but in the middle of the frame, faintly illuminated, stood a tall figure. Too thin to be a bear, too straight-backed to be a deer. It stood there for 11 seconds, unmoving. Then it turned and vanished into the trees. The forest had blinked again, and whatever was inside it was still watching. After the discovery at the abandoned ranger shack, investigators requested access to all archival ranger logs between 1990 and 2000, most of which had been boxed away in storage beneath the Pike National Forest Visitor Center. A week later, Ranger Cal Reddick called in a find that changed everything. A spiral-bound logbook dated September 1996, belonging to a retired ranger named Ernest Holloway. The last few pages were stained with water damage, but one line, scrawled in all caps with a black marker, remained visible. "Do not enter the south shelf if mist is present. Seen again near Ridge 12. Not alone." The phrase repeated 3 times. No formal incident report accompanied it. No injury or complaint filed. Just that cryptic note, and a hand-drawn map with a crudely outlined X, near what appeared to be the very location where Kendra's phone was found, Bear Ridge Overlook. Curious, Cal contacted Ernest, now in his 80s, living in a small town outside Cannon City. Over the phone, the old man sounded reluctant. But when Cal mentioned the girl who disappeared, he went quiet for nearly a minute before saying, "That thing's still there?" He wouldn't say more. Only this, "It watches from the mist. I used to think it was just a shadow of the trees. Until the footprints. I never saw it directly, but I heard it. Breathing." Asterisk. That same day, a forestry intern stumbled on something near the site. A tree, deep off-trail, bearing a circular carving. A ring of notches etched into the bark, with a triangle scratched inside. No initials, no dates, just the symbol, When matched against old ranger training manuals, one notation stood out. Unexplained marker, believed to be non-official trail warning, meaning do not return. What chilled the team wasn't just the symbol, it was what they found beneath the bark. Peeling it back, forensic techs found scratches clawed into the wood, like deep fingernail gouges. Old, but human, and they weren't alone. Back at the lab, analysts discovered something strange in Kendra's selfie metadata, an audio spike embedded in the photo file. Normally, still images don't carry sound. But this one had a trace of corrupted data in its EXIF header, suggesting that for a split second, the phone's microphone had been activated mid-capture. The waveform was unreadable, except for one fraction of a second, an ambient hiss. And then, just before the audio cut out, something that sounded like a low exhale. Breathing, exactly like what the ranger had described in 1996. Investigators are still debating how the audio got there. But one analyst said the file signature appeared incomplete by design, as if someone, or something, interrupted the phone's normal function at the moment of the photo. And then came a terrifying twist. A private investigator working with the Myers family connected a similar case. A woman named Ella Branson, who vanished in 2013 just 12 miles from Bear Ridge. Her phone was never found, but her boyfriend later received a single photo via anonymous text. It showed Ella, looking off-frame, not smiling, and in the corner of her glasses reflection, the figure, just barely visible. When the Myers family's private investigator, Evan LeClaire, reviewed the Ella Branson case, the similarities were impossible to ignore. Ella had vanished from a nearby trail in 2013, also during daylight, also with no known threats or signs of mental distress. Her last text to her boyfriend said simply, "Just got to the overlook. Signal's weak. Beautiful out here." That was the last anyone heard from her. Her car was found. No struggle. No witnesses. Just like Kendra. But what truly tied the two cases together came from a now-retired phone repair technician, Martin Valles, who had worked with the family during Ella's disappearance. When he saw Kendra's photo on the news, he reached out privately to Evan. "I saw something like that once," he said. "Same framing. Same kind of eerie compression glitch in the photo. Like the image didn't finish rendering right. I thought it was a phone bug. But now I'm not sure." Martin was allowed to review Kendra's photo at the digital forensics lab. What he found shook him. There was a repeating pattern of light compression artifacts in the image, tiny digital distortions invisible to the untrained eye, shaped like small offset L-shapes. They only appeared along the left-hand side of the image and always clustered near the tree line, where the dark shape, the figure, had been. Martin had seen this artifact before, once, in the partial image recovered from Ella's anonymous text. The same repeating distortion, in the same part of the frame. These weren't compression glitches. They weren't digital noise. They were intentional overlays. Someone or something was masking part of the image, covering what was really there. The theory became unavoidable. Kendra's phone had not only been tampered with, but the photo might have been altered on device before it was found. And yet, the phone had no signs of malware or wireless transmission logs. It had never connected to a remote network. How could the image have been modified? That's when Evan asked the question no one wanted to answer. What if it wasn't edited after the fact? What if that's what the phone saw? The tech replied, half joking, "Phones don't hallucinate. But what if they did? Or worse, what if something was distorting reality around the camera itself?" The investigation took another turn when drone footage of the shack area, taken 2 days before Kendra disappeared, revealed something previously missed. A person walking along the ridge, partially obscured by trees, heading in the direction of the shack. A freeze frame showed a figure in a dark hooded coat. Backpack, head down, no face visible. The drone operator, a wildlife photographer, said he never noticed anyone that day. "I thought I was out there alone." The footage was time-stamped for October 10th, 2 days before Kendra vanished, and less than 30 yards from where her phone was found. Whoever it was, they were already there, waiting. The selfie had been studied by digital analysts, detectives, even journalists, Yet somehow a single detail had gone unnoticed. It wasn't in the background. It wasn't the figure. It was something in Kendra's eyes. An intern at the forensic image lab, scanning the photo at 800% magnification, noticed a glint in the reflection of Kendra's right pupil. At first, it looked like ordinary light glare. But with contrast enhancement, it became something else, a curved shape like the top edge of a person's head. Not behind her, but in front of her, slightly out of frame, as if someone or something was standing just inches beyond the lens, and she was smiling at it. But there was nothing there in the visible frame. Kendra's expression wasn't fearful. It was calm. But now that piece looked artificial, like it had been forced. And in the reflection, some experts claimed they could make out something else. An open mouth. Not hers. Behind her shoulder. Whether it was real or a trick of shadow remains unclear. But the consensus was simple. There was more than one presence in that photo. Meanwhile, back at the trail site, a state police investigator named Raylan Douglas began re-examining the dirt beneath the overlook, where Kendra had likely stood. At first glance, there was nothing but compact earth and pine needles. But after clearing a patch near the edge, she uncovered a small object buried just below the surface. A plastic name tag, half faded, broken diagonally, the top half read, E. Hollow. It was the badge of Ernest Holloway, the retired ranger who had written the warning in 1996. He had claimed never to return after retirement. Why was his name tag found buried beneath the overlook? When asked, Ernest went silent. Then he hung up the phone. Later that night, Ranger Cal Reddick reviewed the motion sensor camera footage near the abandoned shack. He had checked the logs dozens of times before, but this time, he noticed a corrupted file he'd previously ignored, labeled SAM04_ghost.tmp. He opened it. What he saw froze him. 6 seconds of static, then a face pressed up against the lens, mouth wide open, eyes lifeless, just staring, then gone. It wasn't Kendra. It wasn't Ella. It wasn't any missing person in the database. But in the faint light of the footage, there was something in the background behind that face. A hand, placing something gently on a stone. Later, Cal realized it was the same rock where Kendra's phone had been found. Whatever had placed the phone there wanted it found. Not to help, but to warn. 3 weeks after Kendra Myers' disappearance, her phone was still in police custody. Powered off, data cloned, nothing new recovered. But on November 6th, at 2:13 a.m., a systems alert was triggered at the forensic lab. Kendra's phone had powered itself on. No charger connected. No technician logged in. The screen simply illuminated in standby mode and began syncing with the lab network. The strangest part? A file appeared on the internal memory. A restored voice memo, timestamped just 12 minutes before her final photo. It had been hidden in a corrupted partition, likely lost during the initial forensic extraction. The file was short, only 9 seconds, but it sent chills down the backs of every person in the room. Kendra's voice, calm but slightly winded, spoke softly. I think someone's here. I didn't see them before. They're not walking, just standing there, behind that big pine, maybe 20 feet. Static. Then silence. But layered beneath her words, in the background, analysts identified something chilling. A second sound. A soft, rhythmic pattern, like a breath or a low hum, pulsating under her voice. It wasn't natural. It wasn't animal. And it wasn't echo. The file ended with a faint crack, like a snapped twig, close to the microphone. Forensics confirmed. The memo was recorded 7 minutes before the selfie. Kendra had seen the figure. She knew something wasn't right, but she smiled anyway, maybe out of habit, or maybe to not provoke whatever she had seen. At the same time, back at Bear Ridge, search volunteers uncovered something new. A second symbol, identical to the triangle with ring they'd found carved into the tree, now etched into a boulder beneath the overlook, partially hidden by ivy. It hadn't been there before. Fresh scrape lines still flaked with stone dust. Someone had come back. Recently. But that wasn't the only sign. At exactly 3:27 a.m. that same night, A new Instagram account tagged Kendra's personal profile with a single image, her final selfie. Only now the image was cropped. It no longer showed the tree line. It no longer showed the dark shape. Instead, it had been zoomed in on her face, with a soft blur around the edges. The caption read, "She saw it. She smiled anyway." The account handle was random, at overlooked_814, but the IP trace routed through a private encrypted proxy. Untraceable. The post vanished within 60 seconds. But screenshots had already been captured. Investigators had no answers, but Ranger Cal stared at the image for hours. He whispered the same words again and again. It was never watching her. She was watching it. And she knew. Exactly 1 year after Kendra Myers disappeared, her mother, Diane, returned to Bear Ridge for the first time. Not with rangers. Not with reporters. Just alone, just passed on, just like Kendra had done so many times before. She brought a copy of her daughter's favorite photo book and her old hiking boots. Mud still crusted on the soles. Quietly, she placed them at the trailhead, beneath the updated missing poster, now sun-bleached and curling at the edges. As she turned to leave, something caught her eye. A folded scrap of paper, wedged in the seam of the trailhead kiosk, half covered by a pine needle. She opened it slowly. Inside, a single sentence written in thin, blocky handwriting. She smiled because she understood. They all did. Beneath the message was a list of initials. 5 sets. None of them hers. But when she showed the list to Evan, the private investigator, his face turned pale. They matched 5 people. All missing hikers. Different years. Different states. But all had vanished within 30 miles of the Pike National Forest boundary. None had been officially linked before. Each had a missing selfie. Each with something strange in the background. A week later, a retired ranger, anonymous, submitted a tip to the case file. A hand-drawn map. No return address. No phone number. Just a circle drawn around an unmarked area deep in the forest. Next to it, the same symbol found on the tree and the rock. A triangle inside a ring. The message scrawled across the bottom simply said, "It doesn't take them. It waits until they look back." To this day, no trace of Kendra Myers has been recovered. But every year, on October 12th, a fresh pine wreath appears on the overlook railing. No note, no tracks, no witnesses. Locals say they hear something in the woods now more often than before. Breathing, watching. And if you stand there long enough and lift your phone to take a photo, sometimes the camera will freeze for just a moment. And when the image finally appears, some say you're not alone in it. Thanks for watching The Vanished Echo Stories. Studio Microphone, like, subscribe and stay alert, because some trails never really end.